Welcome to the Evolve Talk in the Century. My name is Ndiima Nyamtengarapuri and I'm the host of the Evolve Talk. Well, last week I had some guests who took over the show. It was journalists who took over the show and they were talking about male privilege. I think that was a very relevant topic to talk about and it was very informative. I really enjoyed and I hope you are also listening and enjoying and also sharing the whole conversation and keep the conversation going on social media and everywhere else. So today I have guests as well. I'm back and I have guests and we have so much tea to spill. Like, listen, I'm back, okay. Hi guys.
Hello, highs.
How are you?
We're good. How are you? It's
I'm
good
great.
to be
I'm
on your
great. I'm great.
on your
So
podcast, I must say. I think the last time you hosted me was
yes,
back in 2018, so it's good to be back.
season one.
Season one.
You had to mention it. Now we're on season
Yeah,
5.
yeah.
Listen.
Oh my
Never,
God.
never.
No, I'm really excited to have you back. We had Sivu on season 1. I think it was an exam
Yeah,
episode
yeah,
where Sivu was giving an exam advice. That is a very timely
yeah.
episode, and if you want to check it out, if you want to be preparing for exams and all that, check that episode
Yeah.
out. Yeah, so I would like you guys to introduce yourself, your names and what you guys do and all the juice.
Okay.
Let's start,
Okay,
Sivu.
should I start? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Sivuyile Mbateni. I am currently a final
Yeah.
year law student, studying in Bloemfontein at the University of the Free State. So yeah, that's about me.
Yeah. That's nice. And Lindo?
So yeah, my name is Lindo Uhlezwane. I am currently doing my honors in African Studies at the University of Venda. There really isn't much to me. I am the founder of a feminist organization called Well. So basically, we're working towards alleviating gender-based violence around the university and its surrounding areas. Yeah.
No, that's really nice. I love what you guys are doing. Keep on doing what you do. We are all looking. And well, today I'm bringing back the hashtag was training. On the past episodes that I've been having, it was like topics from the LGBTQI plus Pride episode, wherein we're just discussing about the LGBTQI stuff. It was just that only. So today I'm bringing back hashtag was trending because I feel like there's a lot of trending topics that we can actually discuss and talk about. One trending topic that took my attention was about Pilo and Mushe. I saw I'm not sure what really happened, but apparently what is actually happening there is that there's like abuse going on. Someone is beating the other one.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure who is beating who and what's going on.
Yeah.
But however, I like this question that at Injabulo, he sent me this question actually. He was like, does same-sex relationship violence still fall under GBV? What's the correct term? So this got me thinking, Uguti, okay, I never thought about it. And yeah, so what do you guys think about this whole thing, this whole Pilo and Mushe thing? Because I feel like homosexual, same-sex relationship, there's always been this kind of violence, but it goes silent and people not really talk about it, and there's not much help or not much knowledge on that. So what do you guys think about it, Sivu?
Okay. For me,
Yes, please.
the distinction is that gender-based violence, right, is directed against any person on the basis of his or her gendered identity. That is how I understand GBV to be, and that it is a human rights violation in nature. And I think what I also touched on was the fact that gender identity, right, is how we feel in relation to whether we are male or whether we are female. And those are two different things, between sex and gender identity. They can mean different things. And then I'm touching on the fact that in law, legally, we have a very beautiful piece of legislation, and we call that legislation domestic violence. So we would call it domestic violence. We have, the Domestic Violence Act of 166 of 1998. So whether we really don't put a term of GBV or intimate partner violence. It is domestic violence. Yeah.
So basically, this whole thing falls under domestic violence, not GBV.
Yes, it falls under domestic violence, and I think there's a need to really educate and inform communities about these rights that are available to them in terms of legislation, as well as that service providers can assist them to enforce these rights. Yeah.
Lindo, what are your opinion on this matter?
Okay, I think my opinion.
And since you are,
well, for me, my opinion would have to be around the fact that first and foremost, I'm an ally to the LGBTIQ plus community, right? So I wouldn't want to come off as a person that speaks for the rainbow community like I know whilst I don't. But with this trending issue, I'm going to answer from the side of a person who's just watching, right? I would, to some extent, associate this with gender-based violence. Let me say why. Because even in the same-sex relationship, I think there are gender roles that have to that come at play, right? There's the man and the woman. I could be wrong, but from my observation, if it's a lesbian couple, there's the man and there's the female kind of dynamics there. So I feel like masculinity and femininity still play out even when there's same-sex relations. So if this case, like you said, I also don't know who is abusing the other on the two, but if it's a matter of the one playing the masculine role abusing the other, then for me it will fall a category of gender-based violence to some extent. On the same breath, I would like to applaud what Sibu said, that this is more domestic violence and intimate partner violence more than it is gender-based violence.
Yeah.
And like you guys said, I feel like this also came as a wave to me. I feel like as gender-based violence activists, every time we talk gender-based violence, we never look at it in the eyes of same-sex violence, so much that we sort of pretend like it doesn't happen at all. Like this is just the intimate partner violence that happens with heterosexual or straight couples. And if we really are going to combat gender-based violence, then we're supposed to also look at gender-based violence in the LGBTI community, because there's no way we can talk gender and leave them out,
And I think also, touching on what Linda's saying, I think not many people see it as domestic violence with us. I think because it involves two people of the same sex, and so the power imbalances between the two are not recognized. I think we need a shift from that, because at the end of the day, it is still a relationship between two people, regardless of the fact that it's heterosexual or it's a homosexual relationship.
Yeah.
And
I actually think it is so sad, sorry, Ndima, that they are, especially in lesbian couples, because I feel like a lot of people would transition, let me call it a transition, from being heterosexual to exploring a more LGBTI side. Most people, or most girls, would say, let me date a girl, simply because they're hurt, or they feel that women are way softer or like the violence does not happen, because I feel it's a stance that a lot of people have. Oh my God, like women are not violent, so let me just go out there and date a girl because it's better. So it's important that we put it out there that, you know, these are also dynamics that play out in same-sex relationships. Let's just put it out there that, you know, gender-based violence is something that is there everywhere.
Mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm. Well, I thought this was very interesting. That someone had to ask me this question, and my answer was that my first answer was that we also need to distinguish the fact that sex and gender is two different things, right? Sex has to do with biology, and gender is a whole of like identity, what you identify with. It has nothing to do with biological factors. So now when we say gender-based violence, we're talking about what someone identifies as. So someone then asks me that, Uti, what if now it is a trans woman, or rather a trans man who is with, let me give it this would work. What if it's a trans woman who is dating a cis-het man? What would then that be? That would be gender-based violence, because that person identifies as a woman. So that is gender. Her gender is transgender. So it means that it's a gender-based violence. So that's why I think that in this particular case, it's not gender-based violence, because it's the same sex, right? And however, we can now distinguish it when we go beyond, would say, okay, how does this person identify between the two? Maybe the other identifies, you know, as another gender. If that's how they identify, then it will be what? Gender-based violence. I think that is my understanding. Yeah.
No, I think that's correct.
And it becomes really interesting, because this person who gave me this question then said that it is very hard, because they found themselves in that situation wherein they're in a domestic violence, like they're in same-sex relationship wherein it gets violent and all that thing happening, and they go to the police. When they go to the police tells them, Muguti, no, you guys, you should solve this man to man. Like they're laughing at them and all this kind of thing. So how does the law protect us? I mean, protect people in same-sex relationship. How does the law protect them? Because we can't just say, Uguti, go solve it man to man. Like it doesn't make sense. How does the law protect us? How protect same-sex relationships during that time of domestic violence?
So I think that's a beautiful question. And so we have this beautiful piece of legislation, as I've already mentioned, the Domestic Violence Act 116 of 1998. And it starts off with a beautiful definition of what a domestic relationship is, right? And it says, a domestic relationship means any relationship between a complainant and a respondent in any of the following ways. So it doesn't really make a distinction. There isn't a distinction between a homosexual relationship or a heterosexual relationship. There just needs to be a victim and there needs to be a perpetrator, right? And it says that this can happen in one of the following two ways. And when we link it to Umushe or Upelo, it says, they live or lived together in a relationship in the nature of marriage, although they are not, or were not married to each other, or are not able to be married, you know, to each other. And it can include things such as physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal and psychological. And what it also makes mention in Section 4 is the application for a protection order, right? So if you feel like you're in a relationship where you are being violated, subsection 1 of that section says that any complainant, so the victim in that relationship, may in the prescribed manner apply to the court. So, and another misconception, people think that when you are in a domestic violence relationship, you can just go to the police station and get a protection order. A protection order is only granted by a court of law, not at the police station, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it says that if the complainant is, so a complainant may in the prescribed manner apply to the court for a protection order. So this is one of the provisions that the Act makes for, and that if the complainant is not represented by a legal representative, because not everyone will have access to a lawyer, or not everyone will have the means to afford a lawyer.
Yeah.
It says in that instance that the clerk of the court must inform the complainant, so the victim, in the prescribed manner of the relief available in terms of this act, and of the right to also lodge a criminal complaint against the respondent if a criminal offense has been committed by the respondent. So if you go to the law and you don't have legal representation, it's easy for you to just ask for the clerk of the court to explain to you what the sort of processes are and how you can lodge a criminal complaint as well against the person who has either, I don't know, violated your bodily integrity and all those kind of things. So that's for one. There's a lot that I'll still explain, but just as a starting point of departure, you can apply for an order.
So what now? What happens? So now, should I go to the court if I'm in a same sex relationship, and this kind of thing is happening? Is it okay that I go to the police station and report this? Because now you're saying that we can only get the protection order from the court, right? Am I getting that right?
So yes, you can go to the police station, but if you are seeking for a protection order, that can only be granted by a court of law. I'm sure I can't speak on behalf of the SAPS as to how they can be able to assist you, but a protection order is only granted by a court of law.
I also feel like there's a need to also, I don't know, maybe sensitize or educate these people in the government, like police, hospitals. Like there's always this thing when you're going to a hospital, a police station as the same sex, like men who are in a same-sex relationship. There's always this thing of them laughing at them. And also there are men who are also going through abuse when they go to the police station and say that, oh, my woman is abusing me, or this is happening in my family.
Catch all the tea after the break. Child, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make podcasts. Let me explain to you. First of all, it's free. There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. This is where I'm doing it from. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. It can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimal listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
I was saying that you find that it's also the same problem we find when men go to report when their partners who happen to be the opposite gender are abusing them. You find that policemen always laugh at them or not give them the necessary assistance. And maybe I believe that there should be a little bit sensitization, or maybe more sensitization to educate policemen or people in the SAPS about these issues, because it's problematic. I don't know. What do you think?
You know, when it comes to the SAPS, right? Emotional about the entire department, because how they treat citizens generally, gender aside, it's really, I don't know if the police don't know the law or the law just doesn't care, because I'll make reference for you, like personal reference. People will always say, yeah, we can't report gender-based violence when it happens on a man because the police will laugh at you. I will tell you of a very painful story. When I got raped, one shoe, guys, one. My clothes were torn apart. Like, I was a mess. Like, in their correct state of mind, would see me as a state of emergency. But I got to the police station and they made me sit on some bench for a very, very long time. And they made me speak my story aloud. I'm telling you the truth. Like there was no of privacy or confidentiality on what had just happened, because I feel like the same thing must then happen when it comes to relationships or couples that are facing a problem. A person cannot be battered and bruised, and you still want them to go there and sit by the reception and say what is going on. It's a wrong way. It's a wrong system. You can't want people. You can't want, and then generally the police like also of personal advice, and that's not what the police station is about. It's not about how the police feel. It's about what the law says. It's about what the law stipulates. Like Steve had said, the laws about domestic violence, there are laws about intimate partner violence and so forth. You follow the law as it is. It doesn't matter if personally you feel it's small or it's okay for that type of violence to have taken place. Like I feel that the department it's not of the police. It's about them having to know the
Linda.
Okay, it looks like it's still No, but I like what she was saying. Yeah, because also then now it becomes a matter of secondary victimization, because you've already gone through this ordeal that you had, and you get to the police station, and you're going to have people at reception who are going to have you retell this ordeal in front of everyone. So I think there's still a long way to go to just ensure that victims of rape or domestic violence or GBV, whatever it is, that it is done in such a manner that still protects your dignity as a person, because you're going there seeking for help, and you get there only to be treated with some secondary victimization. So I think she really touched on a beautiful point that there's something needs to be done.
Something really needs to be done. I also wonder whether they actually teach them the law when, I don't know how, is it, do you study to be a police? Like what happens? Do you know?
I wouldn't know.
No, I'm asking like, it's a general question whether they study.
I don't know whether they know the law or do they undergo some training. I have no idea.
Linda, do you know whether when you a police, do you study to be a police? Like what happens? I'm trying to find out.
I really don't know. I think what really happens they call it the police academy. I think they just do those field rounds. They just run around and physically train. And I don't know if they ever open and scrutinize the Constitution. I doubt it very much, though. I doubt it.
I think they should actually. I think they should somehow maybe reevaluate that and start teaching them the law. Maybe have an understanding of the law, basic things that, when people come for help, they know what to do. Because now it's really bad. It's really bad. So. People don't even want to go to the police station as it stands. Now, we don't want to go there.
I think so.
I wouldn't go there too, because the police station has become, I don't know, a place where it runs on people's personal opinion. You are lucky if the police woman or man that is there understands who you are generally as a person who subscribes to your beliefs. But if they don't, then they treat you that way, and it's wrong. It is so wrong that as citizens of this country, we cannot trust our own system. It's unfair.
True.
That's true. Well, I think we can now go briefly just touch on Tracy Vile. I don't know, Lindo, have you been
Woo.
following Tracy Vile's Zile's actually it's Zile.
Who?
Tracy Zile.
Yeah.
There's a character on Twitter that started just posting about black people. I'm just gonna read one of the tweet, and I just want us to like maybe discuss the why. I don't know. I don't know.
Mhm.
Okay, I love this one. She was like, they don't drive installment VW with cooler box and free government condoms in the boot. They drive Amarok and Toyota, bought cash. They don't impress friends and girls with buying alcohol. They impress their family with holiday getaway, no maintenance and no baby mama dramas. So basically, she Bura guys, like those farm guys wearing
Mhm.
those shorts and stuff. So
Mhm.
she's referencing to black guys. I would say black guys. You find most of them are driving installment VW cars that has installment. I mean that has
Mhm.
cooler box inside and free condoms inside, and in comparison to the white counterparts who have Amarok and Toyota, which is bought cash. I
Mhm.
don't know how to feel about this Zilla character, but she's been posting a lot of slander to black people. Some I thought I'm like, okay, this sounds true because I don't know. So
Mhm.
Lindo, I don't know if you were following. Think about it.
I have been following it because it's pretty impossible not to. She's got a lot to say. She's wow, wow. I feel like I feel like Utracy is a white woman who is just unsatisfied with white privilege. You understand? And I am not
Mm.
saying there isn't an extent of truth in some of her posts. I'm just
Yeah.
she's so disrespectful and she's so white.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
so let us talk about the tweets that you just read. First and foremost, I'm gonna scrutinize it point for point, right?
Mm.
Like we can never ever compare black and white wealth ever.
Yeah.
Black
Mm.
people buy cars in installment because that's as far as we can afford,
Yeah.
and we are buying these cars to go work for the same white people, and we don't have that
Mm.
privilege where your father or your mother is going to ask you, what do you want to do for a living, and then give you 250K for a startup. We don't have that
Mm.
kind of privilege. So of course,
Mm.
for us to get from point A to point B, it's going to have to be a matter of installment. There is nobody in their right mind who wants to live in debt. It's just the
Mm.
system for what it is.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
the holidays that she's talking about, it's privilege. How many black families do you know that can just up and go and go on holiday? We live on hand to mouth.
Yeah.
And that's just the
Mm.
reality of black families and black life. My salary is finished and I haven't even touched it yet. It's not here yet. But mentally, it's already gone because there are things that I need to pay for. So where do I get the luxury of a holiday? And it's not a matter of
Mm.
not saving. Also, she cannot then come
Mm.
out and say white people don't have maintenance and baby mama drama. What is she talking about?
Yeah.
The maintenance system, that one of course, it's not of black people. That's a westernized system. So now we never had an African system where we go to tribunals to go and report fathers for not being there. It is
Yeah.
them that came with a system of absent fathers because they took our people to the mines, to the hostel. What really did they think was going to happen if the father?
Mm.
Mm.
You understand? Yes, black men are not around and they are not raising their families, and I am not covering them. I'm not covering up for them because that's wrong. It's wrong for you to not be a part of your child's life. But I want people to look at the broader picture.
Mm.
Why are black fathers so absent? So many of us have been raised with absent fathers because even if they did want to be present, how?
The
Work is
system didn't
taking
allow them to
our
be.
fathers out.
Mm.
It didn't, it still doesn't. And she cannot then say you will not see white men namakula box, because you will never compete with white people when it comes to drinking. There is nobody who can compete with white people when it comes to alcohol. They drink. And from my experience, if you can go to documentaries on YouTube and you watch stories on pedophiles, it's white men. So of course, if you are going to be sleeping with young girls, why flaunt about it? Why send pictures for everybody to see? I just feel like her posts are so generalized and are attacking our people for a system that we did not ask for in the first place.
Okay. No, I hear.
And baby mama drama, guys, please, I stand to be corrected. Have you seen white people fighting in public? Have you seen white people fighting in public? It's not even a matter of race. Couples fight all the time.
Well, I get your point. I get where you're coming from as well. And I also think we should also have conversations from our side as well. Wuti. Okay, now there's all this installment thing going on. And I do understand the fact that there are some jobs when you apply, like when you're fresh from varsity, you check for jobs. You find some jobs, they're telling you that, no, you need to have a car. So it becomes like so impossible at times to even secure a job. LLB, yes, civil.
You know?
So it becomes hard when you do not have a car sometimes.
Yeah.
But however, we should also have conversations of what can we do as now, Black people to move forward, to avoid these things of installments. Like how can we now start to create our own world, start to empower ourselves, start to create something for our own instead of being so comfortable in the whole installment vibe.
Okay, so I obviously haven't been on Twitter, so I don't know much about this whole Tracy Villa thing, but I'm just going to be general about it. I think really this, from my understanding and what you guys have been saying, it really is a true reflection of our past, apartheid, and its effects, that are still prevalent even today. Our democracy hasn't really done much for Black people, guys. There's so many economic inequalities. I mean, we look at Sentin and Alexandra. We talk about it just in bits and pieces, but when you really look at what is going on there, it really is a reflection of where we come from and how the system is still not living up to Black people thriving in it. So Ulinda also talked about, father absence, the education system. How are we going to better ourselves if the government isn't really putting efforts, in the education sector, if they really aren't, making systems that are going to be in alignment with sort of getting us back on track? Because obviously white people are always going to be talking from a point of privilege. They have no idea that we come from households where we're 10 in a 2-bedroom house and we are just depending on one income, right? So I think there's a lot of privilege white people are still sitting on, and until they come to the understanding that Black people have for the longest of time and still are, suffering economically, socially. I think we really need to look at those policies and really just try to get us back on track.
No, I think that is quite interesting to hear your views on this, because when I was reading those things, I'm like, okay, this sounds true. But now I can actually see the problematic part of it, of her posting the whole thing, that even posting that thing it was just problematic. So I'm quite enlightened about the whole thing right now. So thank you for that conversation. I think now it's time to let's go to the main tea, #main tea, and talk about the tea of the day.
What is the main tea?
Today on #main tea, we discuss cyberbullying during COVID-19. And I think the first thing that we need to do, the first thing that we can talk about right now is to define rather what
Mm-hmm.
cyberbullying is, right? And cyberbullying is bullying that takes place online. Even can't be physical violence, it can
Mhm.
be detrimental to one's mental health. And cyberbullying can also occur on digital platforms through social media apps, text, and online gaming platforms. So, as schools around the world, across the world, have been closed, people have been on social media,
Mm.
and people have been online as well. And the rise on cyberbullying cases have also skyrocketed, right? And mental health is also an issue that we have been talking about. If I had an episode a while back wherein we were talking about mental health problems at this time of the pandemic, how actually we can actually take care of our mental health
Yeah.
during this time. And one of the causes right now could be cyberbullying. People are bullying each other. Twitter is just a mess. I'm
Buzzing.
glad, Sivu, you're not part of that mess, but times.
I've, I've heard that it can be quite the ghetto sometimes.
Oh my gosh, it's a mess.
Yeah.
So, what is your understanding of cyberbullying? I'll start with you,
It's
Sivu.
brutal.
Okay, so I think I would also just take away from your definition as well. But
Yeah.
essentially, I think it all boils down to the use of electronic communication, right? And people using it to bully other
Mm,
people. And this
mm,
can typically happen in various ways. Either you're sending direct messages that are often intimidating or of a, I don't know, threatening nature to other people. It is just taking
mm,
advantage of other people, whether it's through extortion or whatever, that occurs on a electronic communication sort of sphere. I think that for me
mm.
would be cyberbullying. Yeah.
It's cyberbullying.
Yeah.
Linda? Linda?
She's still here. Oh.
I think with both what you have
Mm,
with what you guys
mm.
have both said, right? There isn't much to add, but when I think of
It,
cyberbullying, I
Yeah.
refer to it as online terrorism. For me, it's just a terrorist system where people have,
mm,
regular terms like
Oh.
call out that they use on each other. And it's just basically
mm.
Mm,
the power
mm,
of having data and
But
using it
as
in the
well,
wrong way.
don't you think now it's time? It's lockdown time. People are bored. Like they just don't know what to do with their life. They
yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
what to do with their life, and they have their internet on their disposal. And it's
Yeah.
it's bound to happen that people will do such things when they have so much time on their hands and then they have like access to the internet. And we've been
Yeah.
seeing this happening, like beginning of the when the lockdown started, the
Yeah.
internet was mercy. Twitter was just messy. People were
Mm,
losing their jobs on Twitter, guys. Like people were losing their jobs. One wrong tweet, someone was being reported to Psycha,
mm,
and Psycha,
mm,
like it was
mm,
just a mess. It was just a
mm,
mess.
Yeah.
Like it was just a mess. So it was like a whole thing that came
Hmm.
with people sitting at home doing nothing,
yeah.
and all they had was their cell phones, and they were like, okay, why not?
Mm, mm,
Like why not? And how does platforms like Black Twitter actually perpetuate cyberbullying? Because I just spoke about Black Twitter. Black Twitter is a term used to describe Twitter users who are Black and who focus on the interests of Black community, which both great and horrible. And from my
mm,
experience with Twitter, like Twitter has a very positive side as well, and
yeah.
it was very much positive before the
Mm-hmm.
COVID, but during the pandemic, during the COVID-19 pandemic, it has been
Mhm,
dark. Like things that have been happening, people are being bullied left, right, and
Mm-hmm.
center. So how does
mm.
platforms like this perpetuate cyberbullying? And maybe you can also share your experience if you've had any experience on Twitter. I don't know, Steve, have you ever had
Mm.
any experience on Twitter?
No, like a bad experience.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-uh.
But how does this platform perpetuate cyberbullying?
Look, I'm not really a Twitter person, but I think at times it really can be quite a toxic place, you know? And, you know, you've already mentioned we see people losing jobs. And I think what people really don't understand is that they can actually be criminally charged with offenses, you know,
Oh my
with
God.
cyberbullying. You know, the perpetrator, you know, at times can be sued for damages and defamation, you know, because really publishing defamatory material can have far-reaching results, and you know it could result in a very costly civil suit or end up in a criminal court. And I think a lot of people just don't understand the dire effects that they can end up facing. And you know, also in the context of social media, perpetuating defamatory material, and a lot of people get it confused. It does also include sort of your subtle acts and omissions. So when we're talking about sharing or retweeting or liking and stuff
Okay.
like that. So if you are implicated in any of those, or you fail to unfollow a group or a person who disseminates that defamatory statement,
Ooh.
you can be in a very big trouble, my friend.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
you can be very. So there are four offenses in our law, right? That you know you could either be charged with, and there we have crimen injuria, we have assault, we have criminal defamation, and we have extortion. And what crimen injuria basically looks at is the unlawful, intentional, and serious violation of dignity or privacy of another person. So if in any way you violate the dignity of a person, and dignity, by the way, is a protected right in the Constitution, or if you in any way violate the privacy of a person. So if I take your phone and I share something without your consent, and display it on social media or on Twitter, that is crimen injuria, and you could be charged with it. Criminal defamation, it looking at the unlawful and intentional publication of a matter concerning another, which tends to seriously injure his or her reputation. And it's also important to also note that this can also include both verbal or written defamation, right? So if a person, you know, you tarnish his reputation, so people are going to look at him differently. They're not going to have the same image that they had prior to this post, or prior to this whatever was posted. It is criminal defamation, and you can be charged with it. So I think people just
This
really
is
need to
interesting.
open their mind, their eyes, and know that there are legal consequences to all these things. Yeah.
Linda, do you have any opinion to share?
Yeah. I have never experienced any violence on Twitter, and I think the reason behind that is because I'm not quite a huge Twitter fan. I just go there
Yeah.
for the umgos
Well,
because people have quite a
it's
lot to
been
say on the
okay.
platform.
Recently, there's a story that took my attention, and I
But
feel like Sivu just touched on it, and I want to find out whether that could actually get this person in, you know, in legal trouble and all that. So this girl posted a status like Ellie Gavo too. She's
Oh,
like,
okay. I think I know which one you're talking about.
you know the tweets, right?
Go on.
So this girl was actually outing someone's status, like someone's HIV status, someone's parents' HIV
Oh, okay. No,
status,
then it's a
basically.
different one.
So the
Yeah.
different one. There's a lot of things that
Okay.
happen there. Kabo early hours, eh? There's a whole lot of things that
Uh-huh.
happen. So this lady was like, I have a friend of mine. So this friend, I can't find that Twitter. I'm just gonna say how I think of that Twitter. So she's like, she has this friend of hers, and her friend disowned her when her brother got COVID-19. And when she disowned her, she started publishing news to other people and telling other people that her brother has COVID-19. And she doesn't understand why she would do something like that when she took care of HIV and AIDS mom and didn't judge her, something along those lines. So now she's outing the other friend's mom's status, which the mom actually died of HIV and AIDS. So that's complex. That's complex. How do we deal with it, Loy Kalinje? Like, how do we deal with that?
All right. So I think I'm obviously not a lawyer as yet, so I wouldn't really know the complexities of that. I'm still, a student. But with such things, it becomes really difficult to sort of lay a charge against the person if that whatever they're putting out is either true or it's in the public interest, right? So if it's not true, then we can be talking about laying charges and looking at whether you've tarnished my reputation or criminal injuria. But if it is a true statement or it is a true publication, yes, you do have HIV, or yes, this is the case, then the law really tends not to be on your side, because it is in fact a true statement. But I'm sure
but that's my status.
lawyers
That's
would
a private
advise that.
status, though.
It is. So now we're looking at privacy. It would be, issues of privacy and how you went about doing it. So a lot of factors would be taken into consideration. We look at, how, where, what was your motive, what were you trying to gain, or was it just something that, was it, I don't know, using it for extortion purposes. So if you don't pay me this amount of money, I'm going to post this out. Then that is extortion, and you can be charged for that, because you are intentionally obtaining some advantage, right, from another person. So I'm subjecting you to pressure. It's either you do this or I'm going to post it out. So then for there, we're looking at extortion, and you can be charged for it.
Yeah. And it takes me back to a time like Black Twitter is powerful, guys. There's issues that it's great. It's great awareness about people who we have, for example, made hateful racial comments, and we unite to find them. It's great when we are outing people who do wrong, but the same tool and unity can be misused. I can accuse someone of rape and put it on social media, but beyond that, no one else has the evidence. And this takes me back to a moment in time when this was happening on Twitter. There was a time when rapists were being outed, and it became evident to a point that some were accusing people of rape that did not do certain things, and that had affected their lives, their
reputation, exactly.
So it's messy when it comes to that, because we're spreading our awarenesses, we are outing people who do wrong, but now it becomes wrong when someone does something like that. Linda, what do you think?
I think, here's the thing. There's a reason why there's Black Twitter and there's Twitter. Black Twitter is a platform that I feel has normalized an extent of violence, and like Black Twitter enthusiasts don't see the violence like that they perpetrate on other people, like Sibu said. Like a lot of people don't know that you can actually be implicated in something that, even though you feel it makes sense, even you feel it's funny at the time. I feel Black Twitter has made it about things that we laughing about. You get must fall. Like everything people must just fall on that platform, and it's not okay. It's really not okay, because it even limits like things that should happen on awareness, right? You can post this recording on Twitter, right? And there are gonna be people that will then say Lindo Wushe must fall, even though what I'm saying is basically the truth. I just feel just like people, we have normalized making each other feel small. Black Twitter is a platform where we can degrade other people and make it look cool. Like, how do you come out there and dispose or expose the HIV status of other people? You know that is not okay. And 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 you can't go out there and lie publicly about something huge as rape. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Black Twitter is a platform that does not support research or advocacy or statements, and that's the problem. We can't be hyping people up for saying evidence. What Black Twitter should really be about is embracing the heritage, the culture. Hashtag supports Black businesses. It shouldn't be about us taking each other down. I feel like as Black people, we already have enough problems, guys. Like, I can count my problems, dot and dot. Like, we shouldn't then come and make ourselves look stupid, especially in front of other races. Because then also we give immunity to people like Tracy Zille. Like, she is bound to say these negative things that she has to say about our people because also of the image that we're also giving out to people about ourselves. Like Black Twitter should actually be a safe space for Black people, but we have managed to turn it into something that it shouldn't be. 19 really has turned digital spaces generally into something else. I feel like also people, as you had said it, that then people report tweets. To some extent, that is also wrong. You know, yes, you said this thing and it's wrong, but there are people who are now specializing in making sure that other people lose their jobs because of something that they said on Twitter. It goes down with that Miss SA Hopeful Shem. I think her name is Brittany or something. Oh my God, that was a painful thing to happen to anybody. Because I mean, we have all said things, man. It's a matter of learning and unlearning. You know, even Zoe came out and she's here's the thing with Black Twitter. It has favorites. There are people who will never be cancelled. Isn't it? There's this term of cancelling people. There are people who will never be cancelled on Black Twitter, no matter what they do. So it's like a jagged stance. There's class in Black Twitter. There's those who've got more followers who can say anything that they want to say, and one is gonna come at them. Men's not very low. You know, such people, they get to say anything that they want to say at any given time. But also, can we use Twitter as an educative platform? Like, instead of a platform that brings other people down? Because most of the things that are addressed on Twitter, as brutal as they can be, those are conversations that matter. Those are conversations that we must hold within ourselves as a race and educate each other. I'm going to go back to Tracy Zille. Tracy Zille spoke about you know, how it's not for us Black people. Of course, it's not for us. But to then come out there and blame people and white weddings and say they must fall and that they're stupid, it makes the whole race look stupid, because there are underlying factors there. Why are people so, why do people want to be so white? You know, let's educate each other on this platform instead of bringing each other down the way we're. I don't write anything on Twitter because of that. I'm so afraid. I
Well, social media is unregulated space that should stop, and we should find a middle ground. That is one of our listener who's saying that social media is an unregulated space and that should stop. It should be regulated somehow, and we should find a middle ground from that. And I will read another comment from Kanyile. She says, I belong to a social media group of feminists, and during the hashtag Men Are Trash campaign, a woman found a space to be relevant for her to speak about her ordeal. She said that she had a miscarriage after some violence from a man. Then this man came and started slut shaming the woman and saying that she probably had an abortion and so forth. So this is what happens in social media. Imagine what that did to that woman. She had a miscarriage. And now someone is coming there on social media saying that, no, you probably had an abortion. What does that do to that person's mental health?
So I think there's also just a lot of psychological effects, that come with social media, because social media is just an uncontrollable space. It's a free zone, it's do or die. And I think people really need to start educating themselves properly when it comes to social media. I always say this: digital content in this day and age is dangerous content, right? And it can get you into a lot of trouble. And as Ulindo said, let us use it for the positives. Let us empower, let us look for jobs, let us try and build ourselves instead of bringing other people down, because you need to think about what that tweet or what that comment or what that retweet is going to sort of do for the other person. You don't know how they're going to deal with it. People have, we all have mental issues. I could have confided in you and you decided to take it to such a big platform where everyone is going to see it. How am I supposed to live with myself after that? And I think because this also has lasting effects, when you post something, it can be on the internet for a very long time. And yesterday I was doing some research as well, and I found out that people can go about, removing some defamatory content from websites or blogs that are hosted in South Africa. So the ISPA, it's called the Internet Service Providers Association, right? So the ISPA does offer a mechanism, and it's known as the takedown notice. And basically what it does is it enables persons to report any unlawful and or defamatory content, and if possible, to have removed from websites hosted in South Africa. So look up the ISPA, and where you have had someone who posted a very negative tweet or something that really tarnished your reputation, and you don't want it to subsist in the internet, ISPA is there too, as
ISPA.
the Internet Service Providers Association, and they do take down those unlawful and defamatory content.
I think now we are answering the how do we deal with cyberbullying, and it's one of the other ways to deal with cyberbullying. Thank you for that, Sivu.
Okay, yeah.
Well, while COVID-19 is still a major part of daily news and other world issues, and local events are creeping back onto our news feeds and TVs, making sure you are accessing factual and real-time information is important for being aware of what's going on around the world and making the right decision. Now, the question is, how do we deal with cyberbullying? With now, Sivu has given us also an aspect of how we can actually deal with a part of cyberbullying in a way. So, Lindo, how can we deal with cyberbullying? How do you think we can deal with cyberbullying?
I feel first and foremost, let me just put what I think out there. Like, I feel like the internet or social media is more about alter ego into life. With most people that I know, who they are on social media and who they are in real life and real time are two different people.
True.
So now you find people having their alter egos or who they want to be coming out, and now you have your entire life ruined because you said something, or let's just say your alter ego said something, right? So I think with that being said, if we're going to deal with some of the effects of that social media, like Sibu said, report a post. be like, just report posts, guys.
Yeah.
If you see a post and you just can see that this is out of hand, report the post as soon as you can. Let's normalize that instead of retweeting things that are wrong. Also, I feel like an inbox or a DM can help, right? I'm saying this in relation to the alter ego part. I always feel like maybe if you can go to the inbox of a person, then you can speak to the real person that is in them. Like, kind of be human about it. Let's bring humanity back in social media. We are Black people. We live on the core principles of Ubuntu. We can't always be fighting with each. Just go to an inbox of a person and make them realize the implications of what they are saying to another person. Like you touched on mental health. I feel like mental health is not, is not broadly known to people. You can go to somebody's inbox and say, "Hey, Mang Mang, I see that you posted this thing about Mang Mang, and do you realize, nicely as a human being, do you realize that this thing could mean this and this and this to, or it could affect this person like this?" Before you even take it out there, because I feel like sometimes we get hyped up, by other people's posts and retweets. So sometimes let's tap into the humanity of another person, just kind of remind a person who they are, like outside social media. I don't know if that makes sense, but swerve to the DM and be like, "Hi, sweetheart, Njani, don't say such things,"
And I think
but Linda, I think this is interesting. Okay, so if you can speak.
Okay, no, you can go ahead. I'll have after you. I'll speak after you.
Okay, I think that is interesting. We saw someone who was being cyberbullied. Linda, I'm on your organization group, and you always have this nice conversations on the group. And there was a conversation that was brought, on the group. So there was a lady Uzinande was being cyberbullied, by people because of a pregnancy picture, and people were calling her she was ugly, that. So, baby girl went on the DM, as Linda is saying. She went there, she's being kind. She's like, "You know what, girl? I'm also pregnant, and this thing happens. Na 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 na." And then Zinande was like, "You know what? I'm not you. Tech."
Yeah, I saw that also.
She's like, "I'm not you." So such things happen.
It was
what about them,
for.
Linda? What are you saying about them?
That word sounds very
dangerous.
quick,
It's dangerous.
I think those are some of the things that you must just know and expect that it might happen, but you cannot then entirely, you cannot then entirely cancel people because of that. Obviously, abanye abantu bazothuka, but like I said, the humanity part of it, that you tried, you know that you spoke to this person nicely and because I feel like a lot of people, if they had the information that Sibu just gave right now, there's a whole lot of stuff that they wouldn't say on social media. If you can tell them, you know that this tweet that you just retweeted, the law, if there's extortion, there's assault, there's defamation, if umuntu umlexela, just bring it down properly to them. You tap into the more human side of them, and they realize that, okay, maybe this is wrong, and they get to take it down themselves. I'm speaking on a personal level. Sometimes I post things, and after some time I'm like, ooh, okay, that was take it down myself before any other person does, because at the end of the day we are all human, and I feel like that is a factor that is mostly ignored on social media, the humanity, that we do make mistakes, man. We do say some things that we're not even supposed to say, because freedom of speech is a thing. I mean, there are people that spent 27 years in jail for us to be able to say the things that we are saying. So let us always have the humanity in us. Let's mind what the effects of the effects of other, like the effects of what we say on other people, and let's just be mindful of that.
Yeah, but also look with you touched on freedom of speech as well. Freedom of speech as a right in its own is not an
Mm,
unlimited right, right? So
mm,
it can be
mm,
limited by Section
Yes.
36
Mhm.
of the Constitution. So as in insofar as it just does not infringe on another person's dignity, don't post, So
Mhm.
mm,
yeah, but I
mm,
think, guys, for me, social media is just, it's tough out there. It really, really is. But I think
mm,
how I would go about dealing with it is just up, over and above reporting it, of course, it's just hit the block button and don't retaliate. Because really,
yeah.
Yep.
the bully just needs a response and reaction from you for it to be satisfying for them. So
Mm,
with no response, what you are doing is you are depriving them, that bully, of this gratification, and just don't add fuel to the fire. And so just don't do or say anything that can be seen as bullying in return as well, just because you
mm,
you have been bullied. Right. And I think another important aspect of it is the privacy settings. Privacy is golden. So you need to know how
mm,
to sort of work with your privacy settings on your mobile and social media platforms, because it really just
mm,
boils down
Yeah.
to being wise about what personal information you also make public as well, and speak up.
mm,
Speak up as well if it's getting too much and you feel like you are becoming depressed, you are helpless, you are just too anxious, and just ask for help. There are people who can help you with such things, because really, I think the impact of bullying can quickly spiral out of control, and the consequences can be devastating, as I already said earlier.
mm,
Yeah,
mm,
but do
mm.
speak
Mhm.
up as well.
Well, I think this was a very great conversation. We really had a great conversation, and we can go on and go on and go on and go on. There's just a
Okay.
lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about, but time's
Yeah.
aside, and I just want to
Yeah.
say thank for agreeing when I invited you to come over and to share your wisdom. Your wisdom doesn't go unnoticed. We are listening and we appreciate your wisdom.
Mm.
So I would also like to hear on the listeners as well to hear your final words, maybe an advice. I don't know what you want to say to the listeners. Sivu, can you please start?
Okay, so with which are we still on cyberbullying or just overall? I don't know.
No, like we close. We overall, if from everything else that we spoke about from the trending topics up until now, like maybe final
Yeah.
words.
Yeah, I don't
Mm,
know, but look, just touching on the domestic violence issue we spoke about earlier, I think
mm,
people just need to really educate themselves, right? And you've
mm,
already alluded to the fact that we're in COVID, we're at home, so we're going to see a rise in
mm,
domestic violence cases. So it's very important
mm,
to know that you can get a protection order against someone. You can even have them arrested. And the
mm,
Act also does speak to the fact that, let's say, for example, you're living in a home with your partner and you don't know where you're going to go. Should you go and report? The SAPS, they are mandated to assist you to look for alternative accommodation. So they are going to help you even with medical care, alternative medical care.
mm,
So it shouldn't be a matter of, but where am I going to go? What's going to happen? The SAPS will find you
mm,
reasonable alternative accommodation. If you need medical assistance, they're going to see to it that you are being assisted.
Mhm.
And also, the courts are there to grant protection orders against your partner, so that they either can't enter your workplace, or they can't enter in your household, and stuff like that. So people should really not be afraid, speak out, and sort of spread awareness about it as well. Yeah,
mm.
so I'll just
Thank you.
touch on that. Yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
Um, I think just as concluding, I would
Mm,
say on gender-based violence that guys, if we really are going to alleviate or combat gender-based violence, then it's up to all of us, and not as a collective, but individually. Let's just normalize not doing wrong on other people, regardless of gender, whether you feel they are a weaker person than you or anything like that. And let us be active bystanders. That's the one advice that I would give. It's your business. Gender-based violence is the business of everybody. You can't watch violence happening on another person and say indaba zabantu abayithu azingenwa. Ziyangenwa if there's violence
because people die.
uyangena if they you must be an actor. You must ngena. You must very much be involved in other people are getting hurt.
Yeah.
And on LGBTI, like everyone must just be an ally.
And this is all we have for today. Stay tuned for more of the Evolve Talk.